Hey guys, today we're going to talk about commands, nosotros commands, so mandatos con nosotros, and that we use nosotros commands to say let's do something. Oops. So, for example, let's dance would be a nosotros command. Let's go to the store would be a nosotros command. Let's study, haha, would be a nosotros command. So we formed nosotros commands in much the same way that we formed our usted and ustedes commands, which means there's a three-step process. Step one is go to yo form. Step two, we take off the O. And step three, we put the opposite ending. So our AR verbs get hemos, and our ER and IR get amos endings. Okay? Take a moment to pause the video and read through the description that's here, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about it afterwards. But first, read through what it says, and then we'll discuss. Okay, so as it says, there is the simple way of doing the nosotros commands where we just put vamos with whatever thing we want to do. Vamos a bailar, let's dance. And then there's the more advanced way of doing it, which is what we're studying now, which is the nosotros commands. And the way we do that is we form the nosotros command just the same way that we form the present subjunctive, it says here. Well, that doesn't mean anything to you yet because we're going a little bit out of order. But it does mean something to you when I say that they're a lot like the usted and ustedes commands, where you have to go to the yo form, you drop the O, and you flip-flop the ending. So an AR verb takes hemos, an ER-IR verb takes amos. Okay, so resolvamos el conflicto, this example right here, the original verb is resolver. So resolver is an ER verb, which is why it took the amos ending. Okay, no reaccionemos, let's not react so quickly, no reaccionemos tan rápido, is from the original verb of reaccionar, which is an AR verb, and therefore that's why we have the hemos ending on there when we're doing the command. Okay, we do have stem changers to watch out for. The stem changers are a little bit different. So in usted and ustedes, what happened with the stem changers were that we used the yo form stem change. So pedir, for example, the one that we have here in the nosotros form, was pida in usted and pidan in ustedes, because the yo form was pido. And that holds true for the nosotros form too, only because it's an E to I. If it were an E to IE, such as preferir, that's a terrible command. Let me think of a better one. Okay, so a better verb to use for an E to I, oops, let me go back to my pen. E to IE stem changer would be divertirse, which means have fun. Let's have fun. That's a logical command, right? Divertirse. Okay, so in the yo form it would be divierto, but in the nosotros form we're not going to change it to the IE. We're just going to change it to I, which is kind of like what we did in preterite tense. I don't know if you remember that. But in nosotros form, our E to IEs just become E to I in nosotros form. Okay? And then our O to UEs in nosotros form become O to U. So looking at the second example they have here, no durmamos, let's not sleep, then yo form would have been duermo, okay? But we don't want the UE in the nosotros form, we just want the U, which is where no durmamos came from, okay? So again, those are your stem changers. It's only your IR stem changers, and it's only in the nosotros form that they do this. The E's go to I's, not IEs, and the O's go to U's, not UEs. Okay, moving on, focusing on the second half of this page. We still have to watch out for our Zarkar gar verbs. because we're putting an E after a C, and which would change the sound. We don't want that. Our cars then are going to go change to quemos with a Q. Our gars are changed to gamos with that extra U that we don't hear. It just helps keep the sound. And then the zar changes to semos with a C. Okay, so zar, car, gar. And we have an example here with criticar, AR verb, originally a car verb, and it changed it to critiquemos. We have an example with empezar, AR verb, zar verb, changes to empecemos. Let's begin. Empecemos a pensar un poco en ellos. Okay, which means let's begin to think a little bit about them. Okay, next one, direct and indirect object pronouns. Okay, which we've used before. That's your your ella changes to lo, la, nos, los, las. Those are your direct object ones. Oh, I forgot me and te. Me, te, lo, la, nos, los, las. Or our indirect object ones, we just swap out the lo and the la, and the los and the las. Swap those out for le, or les, for ustedes. Okay, so here we have an example. Celebremos la amistad. Let's celebrate friendship. Okay, and then the command form becomes celebrémosla. We just add that la, which represents it, which is talking about friendship, amistad. We put that at the end. And because we added the pronoun at the end, we also add the tilde on the vowel before the verb ending. So our verb ending is mos, and the syllable before is e. So celebrémosla. Okay. Digámosle, next example, comes from decir. Yo form of decir is digo. So digámosle todo means let's tell him everything. And then no le mintamos. Mintamos actually comes from the verb mentir, which is a stem changer. It's an E to IE, but since it's in nosotros form, it is just an E to I. So that's where that came from. And then don't forget, if your command is positive, we tack it onto the end, we tack the pronoun onto the end. But if it's negative, we put the pronoun in front. Okay, and then, as always, we have to pay attention to our reflexive verbs. And our reflexive pronoun, this is actually a little bit tricky, so I'm going to explain this on the next page. So I talked a little bit about divertirse earlier. Let's have fun, okay? And remember, this is a stem changer, normally an E to IE stem changer, but in nosotros it's going to be E to I, okay? So we take it and we put it, we first pay attention to the verb itself, which is divertir. IR verb goes to amos, divertamos. And then since there's a se at the end, we have to put our reflexive pronoun, which is nos. That's hard to say. Divertamos nos. So what we do is we drop the S on the mos, and it becomes divertamonos. Again, this is still our verb ending, this is still our pronoun, so we have to have a tilde here. And so our final command is divertamonos, let's have fun, where we've dropped this S in the middle. This isn't the first time you guys have heard of this happening, because think back to your Dora song, and you have vamos plus nos, which becomes vámonos. Okay? So it's not the first time you've seen a word that does that, but it is the first time that we've really talked about it and studied it. Okay? Let's practice with a few more. Okay, so here you have 4 reflexive verbs. Take a moment, pause the video, try to work out their command form on your own, and then restart the video and go through them with me. Okay, despertarse, wake up. Let's wake up early, for example, is a command that you might give someone else. Or let's wake up late. So first we have to conjugate despertar. which is in yo form is despierto. Okay, despierto. It is an AR verb, which means what we're going to do in the nosotros form is we're going to go back to the original stem, okay? So, come back, come back, come back. Don't move. There we go. Okay, so remember, because it's a boot verb, which means that in nosotros form, we go back to the original stem. Okay, so what that means here is that despierto, although despierto is the yo form, despertamos is the nosotros form. So our command is despertamo. We drop the S for the mos and put nos. Despertámonos. Okay? Ponerse. Well, what is ponerse in yo form? Pongo. We drop the O. And since it's an ER verb, we're going to put pongamos. But dropping the S and putting our nos, since it's a reflexive verb. Pongámonos. Okay? Acostarse is normally a stem-changing verb. In yo form, it goes to acuesto. But since it's an AR stem-changing verb, we're going to do this again and go back to the original form. So, acostar becomes acostemos. We drop the S and put on our nos ending. Acostémonos. Okay, and then lastly, vestirse. Watch out for vestirse because it is both a stem changer and an IR verb. Since it's an IR verb, we know that there's going to be a stem change in the nosotros form. So, vestir becomes visto in yo form. We keep that stem change. It becomes vistamos. We leave the S off because we're putting nos on the end. Vistámonos. Let's get dressed. Okay, here you have an activity that asks you to put to choose the correct verb and then put it in nosotros command form. So I'm going to walk through the first one with you, then I'm going to have you pause the video, work through the rest, and then we'll go over them together. So number 1, let's read the directions. Miriam y Leonor se pelearon con Tamara, su hermano mayor. Completa las frases con el mandato con nosotros del verbo apropiado para saber qué sugieren para reconciliarse con Tamara. Okay, so we are suggesting ways to reconcile with Tamara. And number 1 says acusar or hablar. Accuse or talk with dad. I think talk makes more sense. Okay, so we're going to put hablar in a nosotros command, which would be hablemos. Hablemos con papá. Y, second part, ver or ignorar. See or ignore how he reacts. Well, clearly, see is the better choice. So yo form of ver is veo. We drop the O, and then since it's an ER verb, we put amos. Veamos. Okay? One thing I forgot to mention on the previous slide is that our nosotros irregulars are the same as the ustedes irregulars. So, ir is vayamos, haber is hayamos, ser is seamos, saber is sepamos, vaya, haya, sea, sepa, dar is demos, and estar is estemos. Okay, pause the video, work through numbers 2 through 6, and then we will go over them together. Okay, number 2. Pedirle is to ask of him. Okay, so ask of her in this case, because we're talking about Tamara. So ask her for forgiveness. That makes sense. We're not even going to pay attention to criticar. Okay, y no mentir nunca más. No mentir is not lie, so we're going to promise to not lie. So first verb, pedir. Yo form is pido, which is a stem changer. Since it's an IR verb, we keep that stem change. Pidamos le. Pidamosle perdón. Now, why didn't we drop the S on this one? It's because it's not a nos that we put on the end. We only drop the S when we put nos on the end. Second verb, prometer. Yo form, prometo. Drop the O. It's an ER, so we put prometamos. We promise. Number 3. Make everything better or ignore everything. Probably a better advice to make everything better. So mejorar becomes mejoro. We drop the O and we put, since it's an AR verb, mejoremos. And then we either tell her or forgive her. And I think forgiving her is probably going to solve the situation better. So perdonar becomes perdonémosla. Okay, number 4. Give her an explanation or react an explanation. So give her is the right answer. So 4 would be, this is one of our regular ones, demos. And since there's a lay on the end, we leave lay on the end. Démosle, let's give her an explanation, and let's end. Terminar becomes terminemos la pelea. Okay, number 5. I ran out of room, but I'll talk you through it. Dare to tell her that that it's our fault, or collaborate. Collaborate doesn't make sense. Dare. So atreverse becomes atrevo. Since it's an ER, we're going to put atrevamo. And since there's a se on the end, we're going to drop the S and put nos. Atrevámonos a decirle que nosotros tuvimos la culpa. And then fight or come to an agreement. We want to come to an agreement. So ponerse becomes pongo in yo form, pongamos. Since there's a se on the end, we leave the S off and put nos. Pongámonos de acuerdo. Okay, hopefully that all went well for you and that you are understanding the Nosotros commands. Keep in mind we have several things to pay attention to, such as stem changing verbs, irregular verbs, zarkargar verbs, and then of course reflexive pronouns and how we have to change that monos at the end for our reflexive pronouns.